Morning, everybody. My name is Dwayne France, and I'm the founder and host of Headspace and Timing, a blog, podcast, and series of books that's designed to change the way that we think and talk about mental health in the military-affiliated population. Today, I want to give you a preview of episode 147 of the Headspace and Timing podcast. On today's episode, law enforcement officer, military spouse, and caregiver Shawn Moore shares a very personal and compelling story of the day that she successfully intervened in her husband's suicide attempt, and how she's turned that mission to helping other family members and caregivers take care of each other by having courageous conversations. So here's a short preview of the longer conversation. Shawn's organization, Caregivers on the Home Front, has a goal to provide caregivers of our nation's veterans and first responders with hopefulness, a sense of togetherness, and a firm foundation of resiliency. In this clip, she talks about how she's taken advantage of the platform that she's been given to raise awareness.
I've had a wonderful platform to really bring to light what it means to support a veteran. And it's just not looking at the veteran, it's looking at his or her entire surroundings, their entire environment. And that goes back to the families, because the families are with them 24/7.
Now, when Shawn's husband experienced a suicidal crisis, she was serving as a police officer. She clearly remembers the moment when she sensed something was wrong and started to take action.
I can remember where I was at. I can remember feeling the sun shining through my window of my car. And I just had this really sinking feeling in my stomach. And as a police officer, I have come to know that you don't ignore that. You may miss the bad guy walking right past you if you ignore that. So I called my husband, and he didn't answer. And even on our worst days, we don't ignore. We answer a text and we answer phone calls. So I knew that was quite unlike him. So I sent a text to one of our mutual friends where I knew my husband was supposed to be at, and asked if he was still there, and got the old military/first responder standby. And I'm like, okay. So I went on into my daughter's school, and I was probably in there for about 40 minutes and came back out and still hadn't heard from him. So I knew at that point in time that something was terribly wrong. And I looked at my older daughter and said, okay, you're going to have to take the little one home. I've got to go and find him.
Now, one of the things that Shawn is appreciative of is that she had a network of support that she was able to connect to in order to get some advice that turned out to be really beneficial that day.
As I was traveling over to where I thought he was, I was talking to one of my caregiver friends, which kind of goes right into this. As family members and caregivers, we have to have a tribe. If we don't have a tribe to lean on, we can't get through these tough days. And I called her immediately. She ended up talking me into not going by myself. And as I got closer to where I thought my husband was at, I'm like, that's probably a pretty good idea. As a police officer, I wouldn't be going into this type of call, which was a check the welfare call, basically, by myself.
Now, Shawn's adamant about the need to educate families of veterans on the signs and symptoms of what they need to watch out for.
We're not educating the family members on what to look for in suicidality, look for those symptoms and signs. And then the big thing is, well, what do you do if you see them? Because isn't that the real scary part? And I've often been asked, well, you were a police officer, so, you did know what to do. I'm like, those are simple tools and signs that anyone can pick up on. It helped me as a police officer to get through the day, but not necessarily.
So an important part of our conversation is about postvention, the steps that are taken after a service member or veteran attempts suicide. In this clip, Shawn talks about how alone she felt after successfully intervening in her husband's suicide attempt.
I spent about 2.5 months at home, scared for me to leave and go back to work, because I didn't know what would happen with him. And then if he wanted to leave the house without me, it was a anxiety-ridden conversation from me. I was scared to death to let him leave the house by himself. The thing that I would have thought that would have happened that didn't happen either was no one from my employer called me to check on me. And it was concerning to me and hurtful to me that no one did, because we have had officers and spouses with physical ailments that have gotten, so much attention from not only the department, but from the community. So that's something that needs to change. That I obviously was not doing well if I took 2 months off. It got to the point that I didn't even have any time and was taking no pay days off. So we need to do a better job at paying attention to what's going on after an attempt.
Now, finally, Shawn talks about helping spouses and caregivers understand that their strength is a key element in supporting each other and the service member or veteran.
When a veteran is injured, either physically or mentally, it throws the family into something different than a deployment. But I think what we need to remember is, as families, we were really strong when they were deployed. We took on a lot and we did it. And then something new happens where we've walked into, a reality of, my loved one is not the same. They've got some things going on, and we are forgetting how strong that we were. That's going to hold the family together. I believe that we have a high rate of veteran homelessness. We have a high rate of suicidality in veterans, as well as the families too. But what's going to keep that together? The families staying together. So we must focus on the veteran and the family as one unit, and whether that's the veteran getting help at the VA, at a community mental health organization, wherever that's at, a lot of times the family can't get that support there, but they need to find it somewhere. So as long as we're all getting support somewhere, that just makes that family stick together. And this isn't an easy journey, so you have to be proactive.
Now, Shawn and I talk a lot more in the longer conversation. She goes into the day that her husband attempted suicide in much greater detail. She talks about what caregivers on the home front's doing to educate her community and what others can do in their community to do the same. Check out the full episode at veteranmentalhealth.com/HST147. If you want to learn more about veteran mental health, go to veteranmentalhealth.com/Amazon to check out a couple of books that you're able to purchase to be able to learn more about mental health from a military and clinical mental health perspective. And finally, I ask that you subscribe to the podcast. You can go to veteranmentalhealth.com/podcast. You can scroll down. You can find your podcast player of choice here, Apple Podcasts. Hit subscribe, and then you'll make sure that you'll be able to get all of the episodes whenever they're released. Thank you for watching. I look forward to talking to you next time.